soupe à l'oignon, the espagetier, the cheddar gouget, the entree. I think I'll have the poulet au lion. And I think that should go nicely with a nice sparkling Sauvignon Blanc. Alright, thank you very much. Welcome to Bros Held High. I've been on vacation for a while. I'm taking it easy, sitting down to a nice meal, and what's the BAFTAs last week?
The BAFTA for an outstanding contribution to British cinema goes to Peter Greenaway.
I've talked about Peter Greenaway on the show before, in particular Night Watching and Prospero's books. He is one of the most unique directors working today. He is delightfully idiosyncratic, remarkably pretentious, and I just love him to bits. I call him Petey Greens. Thank you. And I think it's high time to talk about his most commercially successful movie. That being, of course, The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, Her Lover. The plot of the movie is... well, it's about a cook, a thief, his wife, and her lover. Basically, it's about a thief, a gangster rather, who takes over a restaurant owned by a cook. He has a wife who is very unhappy, and so she takes a lover. It's basically The Room.
Let's go eat, huh? I'm tired, I'm wasted. I love you, darling.
He's not what you think he is. He got drunk last night, and he hit me. And I don't love him anymore.
The sexy dress? I mean, what's going on here?
I like you very much. Lover boy.
How dare you talk to me like that? You should tell me everything. You bitch. Everybody betrayed me. I fed up with this world. Danny, do you have something else to do?
I just like to watch you guys.
And it being a Peter Greenaway film, it just delves right into the poo-poo and pee-pee, right... thank you very much. Right into the poo-poo and pee-pee in the very first scene.
Now I've given you a good dinner, and you can have a nice drink. Now, you behave yourself in future and pay when I ask you. Or next time I'll make you eat your own shit.
And it also being a Peter Greenaway film that has some very typical Greenawayian philosophizing.
I charge a lot for anything black. Grapes, olives, black currants. People like to remind themselves of death.
It's totally padding, but it all ties back into the basic theme, which is, of course, food. Food and all of its foodiness. A lot of his films are like that. He just takes an idea, runs with it, and wraps up in his typically, well, hisness. His films look like pieces of Baroque art. By design. The dinner arrangements are straight out of still lifes from that era. Like the opening scene also has a lot of dogs, a common motif in a lot of Baroque art. Even the costumes. The costumes are quite interesting. Designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier. In his first cinematic outing, way before he did things like The Fifth Element, The Skin I Live In, I believe he also did. And he does things like waiters with spoons on their uniforms. One of Helen Mirren's costumes looks like I Dream of Jeannie. Greenaway's films are all about visuals over logic. Color in particular. You'll notice how each scene has its own distinct color palette. The outdoors are blue, the kitchen is green, the dining room is this dark, satanic red, the bathroom is white. In fact, to the point where the costumes change color when they go through each scene. But to talk all about the visuals kind of ignores the cast. Helen Mirren is, of course, the highest billed, and she should be. She's wonderful in this.
This is a prairie oyster.
And Michael Gambon.
Swallow it. Well, that's right. Now, Mitchell, you have just eaten a sheep's buttock.
And Michael Gambon as one of the most hilariously, entertainingly hateful presences I have ever seen on film.
I'll bloody eat him! I'll kill him and I'll eat him!
Albert Spica. Despicable Spica. He's simultaneously cartoonish and yet also one of the most realistic portrayals I've ever seen of an abusive drunk. He's this hateful gangster bent on consuming all that he... Ah, thank you. Bent on controlling all issues.
What are you doing in there, Georgina? You playing with yourself? That's not allowed, that's my property.
This came out in 1989, and when it did, a lot of people read a distinct commentary on this, on the Thatcher administration. Ultra-capitalist, anti-intellectual system that was bent on consuming and regurgitating and excreting everything they could. This ravenous consumption of materials and people. This criminal overlord with pretensions to the upper class, taking over the things that he considers of his caliber.
How about some les hors d'oeuvres, gâteau aux poivres, terrine, a filet lamb, a poisson au
It's poisson.
What did you say, Georgie? What did you say, Georgie? What did you...
The way he runs this particular business is a perversion of art, basically. Where the cook, the artist, is subject to his whims, as is the populace, represented by Helen Mirren. The lover being the intellectual class that is put down by that particular administration. I don't quite buy it, but there might be something there. There might be something there, at least subconsciously, about the rapid consumption of food.
Not with your fingers, Spangler! God, that's all you understand, isn't it? Things you eat with your hands whilst you're walking down the street.
And worshipping the apple consumption over all else.
Hello, what are you doing? Reading again? This is a restaurant, not a library. The only thing you're allowed to read in here is the menu. You are insulting the chef. Reading gives you indigestion. Didn't you know that?
Over learning, over respect, over empathy.
This needs cooking. Grill it with some mashed peas.
What good are all these books to you? You can't eat them. How can they make you happy?
It's disgusting, really. The most perverse thing about this is that the thief also considers himself an artist. I mean, merci?
You know, I'm an artist the way I combine my business and my pleasure. Money's my business, eating's my pleasure.
An artist and a philosopher, neither of which he has any right to call himself. He spends most of his time pontificating about the nature of food, and consumption in particular.
The naughty bits and the dirty bits are so close together that it just goes to show how eating and sex are related.
Of course, because eating is such a basic biological function, you can unpack a lot of symbolism from it. I mean, it's something necessary to survive, but yet it also has politics around it. The kind of food you eat usually denotes something about the kind of life that you live, the kind of class that you're in, the kind of culture that you're from. Food in our culture, in every culture really, is a commodity, a luxury, a status symbol, and a source of power. I mean, one of the most lucrative franchises in Hollywood right now is all about classism that uses eating as a metaphor for class strata, and it's called The Hunger Games. And one particular way it's perverted here is the use of food as a weapon.
Hold in. Okay, butt eater, tell me where they are. We've run out of buttons, but there is one more button. Do you know what that is? It's your belly button. How'd you like to swallow that, eh? They are going to say this was a dignified revenge killing. They're going to admire the style. He was stuffed, and Albert liked good food. They might even smile. He was stuffed with the tools of his trade. He was stuffed with books.
Ooh! The thing you gotta know about Peter Greenaway is that he's probably the world's only cinematic classicist. Like, he's constantly thinking about the future of cinema, but at the same time, he is, probably more than many other directors, looking into the past for inspiration. His main argument is that we have thousands upon thousands of years of artistic tradition, yet most filmmakers are trained in the past 100. Filmmakers are trained to think that art starts with D.W. Griffith and ends now. And thus it will end now, according to him. Peter Greenaway's main inspiration comes from the Baroque period of art. In particular, Northern European, particularly Dutch. In fact, the dining room has a huge painting by Frans Hals looming over it. In fact, that very painting informs the costumes of the gangsters, which is why they look like 17th century burghers. Citizens, not Big Macs. But aside from the obvious visual influences, he's also influenced by 17th century storytelling. In particular, the Jacobean revenge tragedy. It's a whole genre that popped up around the reign of James I, which is why it's called the Jacobean period. Makes sense of that. Most historians believe it started with Thomas Kyd's The Spanish Tragedy, and will go on to include The Revenger's Tragedy by Tom Middleton, and also include plays by William Shakespeare, including Titus Andronicus, and, of course, Hamlet. And like the best art, they're all about everyone's favorite subjects, sex and violence.
Care for dessert?
Do you have macaroons?
We do indeed.
Excellent, I love macaroons. Now, if you've seen a Jacobean revenge tragedy, you probably have. Most likely it'll be Hamlet. There's a very distinct form to it. About as strict as, like, the Hollywood movie is today. Like, today we have a 3-act structure. Lonely guy who's put down in the world, and yet he rises to great heights.
And the prophecy states that you are the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe.
The 17th century version of that was a 5-act structure in which a man who is kind of going nowhere in life suddenly finds out that there's been a murder. And the majority of the plot is the intrigue. Jesus Christ. Is the intrigue surrounding this murder. And the rising body count that goes with it.
Knowing how you like to eat. Knowing how you like to gorge yourself. And we've brought a few of your friends around.
The spectacle in this comes from the ironic way in which the villain is dispatched. Ooh, macaroons! Every revenge play ends in this great spectacle, usually a show in which the entire cast is just decimated. In Hamlet, of course, it's the duel between Laertes and Hamlet, with poisoned blades and poisoned goblets, and, if you're Kenneth Branagh, a chandelier. In Titus Andronicus, also by Shakespeare, it ends with the barbarian Tamara being fed her 2 sons in a pie. In the first one, The Spanish Tragedy, the villain is killed on stage playing the part of the murder victim. In a later work, like The Revenger's Tragedy, the villain's killed by, get this, taking the body of the deceased, poisoning it, and having the man kiss the body on the lips. Kiss the body on the poisoned lips. It's wonderful the way some people think of these ugly, ugly things. And Peter Greenaway is no less ironic, and no less bloody, and no less clever with his ending. Check, please.
Jesus! Come!
No, it's not God, Albert. It's Michael. My lover. You vowed you would kill him. And you did. And you vowed you would eat him. Now eat him. Try the cock, Albert. It's a delicacy. And you know where it's been. Eat.
Shut up, it's art!
hint.